Welcome to the program, Like Nobody's Business. I'm Kristin McMillan. I'm the President and CEO of the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce. The Metro Chamber has been at the forefront of connecting leaders who are making a difference in this community, people who are innovating and moving our region forward. These are people who own businesses, run governments, educational institutions, nonprofits, and other organizations. They're real leaders with the fortitude to think big and to make bold moves, and they are leading the charge in this community like nobody's business. And we're here to showcase some of them for you. So today we have the pleasure of welcoming Rick Harrison. Rick is a Las Vegas-based businessman and historian, and you will recognize him as a reality TV personality as he co-owns the world-famous Gold and Silver Pawn Shop as featured on the History Channel series Pawn Stars. And Rick has co-owned the shop with his father since 1989. So Rick, welcome to Like Nobody's Business.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I know that you're a historian and you truly connect with history. You've described Pawn Stars, I think, in the past as part history lessons. So I'd like to know why history? I mean, why do you connect with history, and why is it such an important part of your life?
Okay, well, it's you really need to learn history, otherwise, it's the old adage, if you know your history, you're bound to repeat it. No, but when I was a kid, I was a really sick kid, and this was the early 70s, and lower middle income family. We only had one TV, and it sure wasn't in my bedroom because I had epilepsy, and I'd have really bad seizures, and seizures so bad that I couldn't walk for a week. And so I'd be in bed, and then my mom went to the library and got me some books, and she got me a book about an 8-year-old kid who declared himself he had a great brain, and it was all set in the 1890s in Utah, and he came up with all these little ways to make different money and things like that, and I fell in love with them, and within 2 weeks I read like all 10 or 12 of them in the series, and after that why do people watch TV when you can read a book? So I've just been a history fan ever since, and I've been reading ever since. So.
And you talked about reading books as a way to make money. So I know you're an entrepreneur, and you have been since very early in your life. Tell us a little bit about some of those entrepreneurial experiences.
Oh, well, I know when I was like 12, 13 years old, I knew if you went to the swap meet and you found spoons that said Sterling on the back of them, I'd give them to my brother because he had a fake ID and he could bring them to the pawn shop and sell them for me. And no, I just bought and sold stuff my whole life, and I've, throughout life, you find a little hole in the market and you fill it. I mean, that's how you make money.
And so I understand at age 16 you opened up a coin shop with your father, right?
I opened up a coin shop when we moved here to Vegas, made a little 300 square foot place. A couple years later, we opened up a place on Fremont Street, the 400 block where the parking lot's at now. And then in '88, we got the place on the Strip. And no, it's... and most small businesses, well, you're lucky if you're around for a year. It's almost next to impossible to see them around for 5 years. We've been there for going on 30 years. And I realized really early in business that it's either evolve or die. Mm-hmm. And I was also competing against big chains of pawn shops. So you can't compete directly against Walmart. So I wasn't Walmart, I was Tiffany's. Mine was going to be so much better than theirs. And, I made it like mandatory in the pawn shop, like probably around 90, 91, that I always had to have at least a Picasso or something like that in the wall in the pawn shop. So it really set me apart. I mean, people would come to Vegas, they would come and look at this pawn shop. It's got Super Bowl rings, it's got Picassos hanging on the walls, not your normal pawn shop.
So you really found a way to differentiate yourself, sort of a unique value proposition. So what other advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are starting out businesses? You mentioned that so many of them fail after the first few years. Okay,
first off, my number one thing with business, evolve or die. Because if you start a business today, 5 years from now, it's going to be a completely different business. It's not nearly as easy as everyone says. If you're planning on you're young and you're starting a business, plan on working 7 days a week, 12, 13 hours a day. because your employees don't care about your money like you care about your money. I don't just think smart. Get yourself educated on business. You know what I mean? I was a really sick kid. I wasn't able to finish high school. I mean, I never got to go to college. I had to sort of learn this all on my own. So, get educated on business. Understand what the difference between an S corp is, an LLC, a C corp. Make sure you do your books, because your partner in business, called the IRS, will eventually come along and want their piece, and they want to see your books. No, I mean, if you work hard, I truly, that's the great thing about this country. Okay, you can really bust ass, you can do well, and if you fail, it's all right. You can just start all over again. I mean, Henry Ford declared bankruptcy before he started Ford.
That's right.
In most other countries, once you declare bankruptcy, you're sort of like, you're done for life. They look at, but it's the great thing about this country. You can just start right over.
Part of the American dream, right?
Yep.
So, you talked about, at a young age, liking to buy and sell stuff. And so, I mean, why did that catch your attention? Is that really what your passion is in business? Or do you just like business in general?
I just love business in general. I mean, I could retire tomorrow. I really could. I could retire tomorrow, spend the rest of my life on my ranch, on my tractor, and have a great time. But I really enjoy, I just enjoy the process, the game. I'm proud of the fact that I pay all my employees get paid a lot more than everyone else in their field. I really like to take care of my employees. I do things for the community. I'm on the national board of the Epilepsy Foundation. I'm trying to start a project to help, more education for kids. I mean, I look at it like this: a classroom today doesn't really look that different than it did 100 years ago. I mean, the desks might be a little bit different, but kids act and think different nowadays. They're on their phones all day long. They have shorter attention spans. So I'm going around to schools. I'm talking to them. I'm talking to them in a less politically correct way. It's like, if you just get up there and talk to kids like their teachers talk to them, they're going to say, yeah, while they're looking on their phone. And so I get up there and say, hey, you want to make money? You want to do well? I mean, all those people you see on YouTube and those rock stars and rap stars, you want all the stuff they have? This is what you got to do. You got to get educated. You got to work hard, because, you guys are eventually going to find out that the nerds rule the world. And just talk to them like that, and it gets their attention. Those are things they listen to, instead of like, you should do this. No, you got to put like real core things that they see every day. I think things they're interested in. They get online, they look at the cool cars the rich people are driving, things like that, and say, hey, you want these things? This is what you got to do. You want a good life? This is what you got to do.
That's really great. Are you doing that within the Clark County School District?
Yeah, I've been to a couple schools now, and I'm giving little speeches, and
right.
And then at the end, everyone wants a selfie with me.
That's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's part of the appeal. Well, let's talk a little bit about the show. You've, I think, described this as part history lesson, part reality family show, and part a game. And you mentioned that business is a game. So what do you hear from viewers about what they like most about the show?
I hear a lot of different things from everybody. When we first aired on History Channel, it was we were their highest rated premiere ever, and I think that's because they were going through the cable guide and they thought it said something besides Pawn Stars. No, I mean, there's a few different things about it. I think people love to learn. They just like to learn from their uncle, not a professor. They want someone like looking right at them instead of looking down at them. It's partly a game show. First round, is it real? Second round, what's it worth? Sometimes there's a bonus round, and I call it an expert. So there's a little intrigue there, and I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, there's been 30-some different shows that have tried to copy mine. They've all failed. Yeah. And I'm the only primetime shows that have more episodes than me are Lassie, The Simpsons, and Gunsmoke. I'm coming up on my 500th episode. So
that's a good legacy for you.
Yeah, and like I said, it's I've always insisted on keeping it a family show. There's been plenty of times they asked me to do things. Nope. I never make a show that I would be ashamed of my mother watching.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the success. We're in 150 countries now in 38 languages.
Well, you come across very authentic on TV, and the one thing I like, I mean, I always notice when I watch it, is the way you sort of tilt your head and you give this little look when you ask somebody, well, what do you think this is worth? And I always wonder what is going on in his head right now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we find out. So tell us a little bit about the art of the deal and the negotiation.
There's a few different things. I'm asked about this all the time. I mean, number one rule is if the deal isn't right, just walk away. Because
Which people do. I mean,
I mean, but like when you go in to buy a car, if you have to have it, you're not negotiating at all. They're going to tell you the price. But you literally have to be willing to walk away, and a lot of people don't get that in their head. I mean, just no, walk away. The deal ain't going to happen. You wish it did, but if it's not right, it's not right. I'm asked all the time, what's that one deal that you didn't make that you really regret? I'm going, none of them. If the deal wasn't right, the deal's not right. Always never give the first price.
Right.
Because their price might be really low.
Always do ask.
Yeah. What do they want for it? Because their price might be really low.
Yeah.
It's one thing I've always done in business. I really believe that 6 degrees of separation. The second you do a customer wrong, they're going to tell everybody, and everybody, it's. You do right by a customer, they might tell 3 people. You do wrong, it's going to spread to 1 million different people. So I've always been uber honest with all my customers, and it's actually happened on the show a few times where people have walked in and wanted very little money, and I've given them a lot more. If you're an honest businessman, you work hard, you have a good product, and you're smart with business, you'll most likely succeed. But like I said, it's capitalism. There's always going to be failure. It's like I said, that's why you got to evolve your business, and that's why capitalism is so great. It gets, the bad businesses go out of business. Unlike government, where you just have bad parts of government that just stay around forever.
Darwin, right?
Yeah.
Darwin. So you talked a little bit about family and how this is a family show, family business, actually, at the core of it. And why is that so important to you? And what are sort of the lessons, if you're talking to people out there in the audience who have multi-generational businesses, what advice would you give them?
Well, I tell us the greatest thing about my business is working with my family, and the worst thing about my business is working with my family. One of the good things about family is you can make them work ridiculous hours without any extra pay sometimes. If the one thing I do tell people that have like family businesses, there's got to be a dictator. Okay, you just can't have 2, 3, 4, 5 people running a business and they all have an equal say-so, because otherwise it just turns into, there's got to be a boss. And the other family members might not like that, but you guys all have to get together. All right, we're all going to sit around here, but, in the end, this person has the final say. And it doesn't always work out perfectly that way, but in the end, you really do need a boss. I mean, you actually need the guy who's in charge.
The CEO, basically. So, being a family business, tell us about some of the values that you've learned from your dad, and what you've tried to instill in your son Corey, and maybe even Chumley as well.
Basically, I just try and tell them, work hard, don't do anything stupid. But they're young and have a lot of money, so they do that every once in a while. I also explained to them this is not going to last forever. One of these days people are going to be sitting around. What was the name of that show? It was about 4 fat guys in a pawn shop. So the show is eventually going to go away. I mean, it's the nature of television. So, they both put some money away over the years, and Chum's got his candy store, which does amazingly well for a candy store. You'd be shocked. And Corey owns half the beauty bar downtown, and he's got a few other business things going. So, like I said, just realize that the show's not going to be around forever, and like I said, diversify, evolve.
So, change and evolve. That's kind of the theme here that you presented to us. So what's next for you? I mean, you've talked about your foundation, you've talked about the Epilepsy Foundation and the educational work that you're doing here in the schools. So what's next for you?
Well, I keep the pawn shop fresh. I have the shop. I just built the shopping center next door. I have my bar and my restaurant there. And I do, when I'm in town, I bartend every Friday and Saturday night.
I love it. Where?
At Rick's Rolling Smoke, right next door to the pawn shop, and the shopping center I built there a couple years ago.
Okay, good.
I'm the world's worst bartender. I only make drinks where the name of the drink is the ingredients of the drink, like Jack and Coke. If you want like a martini or anything, I'm not your guy. The other bartenders do that.
Back to the basics, though. That's what it used to be about, right? I was a bartender when I was younger, too.
Yeah. No, but I have a fun time doing it. It's a good way for my fans to meet me and everything like that.
Exactly.
I also have a publishing company. I publish art. I have a production company. I have, like I said, I have 6 kids, which is 2 jobs in itself. And I have a little ranch up in Oregon that I love to go to. And so I keep myself pretty busy.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Well, I have one final question for you.
Sure.
And that is, I heard that you have the 500th episode of Pawn Stars coming up.
Yep,
right?
I do, yes. And it's it's like I'm telling you what, like the coolest stuff you've ever seen in your entire life.
Well, we can't wait to see the coolest stuff and what that's all about. So I understand that will be available for us to view in February.
In February, yes.
Well, very, very good. Well, Rick Harrison, thank you very much for being with us today. This has been very interesting to have you here, and I'm sure our viewers have appreciated getting some more insights from you about business and about yourself personally. So thank you, Rick Harrison, for being with us today. It's really been a pleasure having you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Good, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. So please join us, follow us, like us at LV Chamber, and we want you to connect with the business community as well. Please go online, lvchamber.com, and look at all the resources and partnerships and opportunities that we have to offer, because we need our businesses in this community to connect with each other, to join forces so that we can all succeed, change, and evolve. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.